It's my perspective. Yeah, from my perspective. It's my perspective. Yeah, yo, am I wrong or is it just you? Or did my life show me some things that gave me my view? And if I went through what you went through, would I be you? I don't know. That's too many questions with no answer, but plenty chances for many lessons. Am I willing to learn that it's all perception? That the picture that I paint ain't the one that you sketching? So can we disagree without drawing a weapon? Long as I can understand that it's just your perspective. Yeah, it's my perspective. Yeah, from my perspective.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sean, and welcome to My Perspective Friday. On, excuse me, well, who we have on the panel is Larry, Hunter, Tila,
I'm
and
so sick of you and this dang panel every week. You ain't gotta announce everybody. Just go in this panel.
so
I feel like I'm in a court moderation or something. Like we in trouble.
exactly.
We in mediation or something. I don't know what's going on with the moderator.
Oh my God.
Hey, you know what? Hey, y'all can fire the moderator.
I know
So-
that's what I'm saying. You gotta get out of work mode. This is fun time.
Okay, you're right. You're right. You're right, Tila. You're right. I got you. So tonight's topic is: how do you feel about your partner being friends with the opposite sex? Is it okay for them to hang out with them one on one by themselves? So I am going to leave it open to whoever wants to jump on first. You know what, Lynn? What do you think?
What do I think? I think sure. I think all is fair. I think that all of this involves trust factors, but if you really want to know where I come from, I'm one of those folks that'll be like, "What you mean I can't hang out with?" So and so is
Especially if
my
they were there before
friend.
you.
That's right.
Right. They might have been there before you. What are you talking
That's
about?
right.
Don't act
That's
like-
right. I've got friends. Well, right now I don't have a partner. Anybody listening? But anyway,
Hunter's taken, Lynn. Hunter is taken. Okay. Missed that boat.
well, let's put it this way. Hopefully we got some viewers out here. I'm just saying. But
Yes.
the bottom line is this: that I think it's a trust factor. I think it's okay. Now I think that one has to keep the antennas up. Sure, things start to get a little dicey. That's right. You might need to have a little antenna going up. But I think that for the most part, yeah, friends are friends. And, I'm not one that ever believed that my husband for 30 years, my man for 30 years needed to be telling me who I could hang out with and couldn't hang out with.
You got me curious about these antennas because everybody's antenna radiates a little different.
Well, your antennas is based on your insecurities.
Right.
Sometimes there are people that will make a whole lot out of. We also have to understand there are people, even though they say they don't want drama, it seems like every relationship they cannot survive unless it's a little toxic. And those are the ones that always have their antennas up.
Right. Well, they need to go find somebody else so they can antenna together.
Yeah.
Or something, a whole toxic island.
Yeah.
Yes, but if you've got your antennas up all the time, I think you're out looking for trouble.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they need a whole island by themselves so they can create their own drama and leave ones who are cool, calm, and collected alone. Because my thing is, a lot of time you can't live in this world by yourself. So what do you want me to do? Just rely and relate, just be all about you all day, every day? That can't be it. Can't be.
So we're saying that there should be a trust factor and there should be some type of open communication when you want to hang out with. Let's just say that person, that their friend is an old flame that
it's a reason for them being an old flame.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is that a lot of times people start off relationships as friends, and then they become serious, and then it doesn't work out. Then they go back to being friends. A lot of times, best friends end up getting into relationships with each other. But what about that one person that your significant other, your partner is hanging out with, is an old flame? How would you feel then?
Well, I mean, kind of going off of what Lynn said, if you don't have enough trust in your partner to know that they aren't going to do anything disloyal, then you probably have other issues going on anyway. You probably shouldn't be in that relationship.
Yeah,
Larry said this when we had a relationship topic before, and Larry said it perfectly. That trust thing should have started before you got together. So once you become significant others, why are we still talking about it? Because you know what means that? Because all of us have been married except for Hunter. And so I like that Hunter gives a perspective, but when you're doing the dating,
I have not. Not ever. Probably not ever.
My bad. Well, okay, but you have been as close as when you have kids with somebody, it almost counts. Okay, you're close.
It doesn't count.
Listen, let me put that disclaimer out there real quick. Right? Listen,
you had some fun and you end up having some other things done. That's all right. It's not the same thing.
Just because Sean and Larry have outscored you 6-0 doesn't mean.
That's why, right there. I'm not even trying to get in that category. Right there.
No, he yelled so loud his thing cut out.
He's clipping the mic.
When you're doing the dating part, that's when, like my wife, when we were dating, she met all the friends. She met all the exes I was still talking to before there was a proposal and a ring slitting on a finger. So I think it's once you start being in that relationship and now you're being introduced to some old friends that you never heard of, that's when it becomes a problem to me.
Yeah.
But it might be
they were already there. It's like, why haven't you met these people before?
No. But
yeah, it's
Tequila, the premise is you guys are still friends. So if we've been dating for 2 years and now I propose and we're married and we're in year 5, why are you now meeting my good friend or hearing about them for the first time that I dated for 5 years?
Yes, by the time you get to where you're proposing or giving a ring or anything like that, you should already know whether or not you can trust that person. You should already know who their friends are, pretty much who they hang out with. I mean, without being invasive.
Right. Yeah.
And the same thing about me. My wife should know all the stuff about me before we even get married.
Correct. That's
I
true.
agree. I've made that mistake in the past, so.
But you have people that travel. Like I have friends that's been in the military that I hadn't seen in years. Doesn't mean we're not friends. That my significant other may know about them, but they've never met them. We've never hung out together because now they're back.
Well, that's
like I said, this is at the beginning, but they still may not have ever met them before, but they know of them.
Well, that's what I said. You know of them. How are you not? How does my now wife of 5th year in the relationship not know of my close friend that I dated 3 years ago? The math is wrong. 10 years ago for 5 years. It shouldn't be the first time she heard her name.
True, but you said hung out with them, so I was just making sure. I don't always hang out with them.
I would beg to differ on that, because sometimes when you are in a relationship, you don't talk about everybody. I'm not going to sit there and say, you know what, I slept with this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. I may give an account, but I'm not going to tell who the names are. Now, if it comes up,
we're not telling you to name all the notches on your belt. We're talking about.
But I understand. Hear me out first. Hear me out. What I'm saying is that there are some times where you don't bring up friends because it's not relevant at that time. There may be a situation where, like you said, you've been around military folks.
You trouble,
John. John is retired. I'm retired. and when you traveling around the world, these friends ain't going to be in the same location that you're living in unless you've been living in been done North Carolina for the past 30 years. Of course they're going to know who all your friends are and who you hang out with. But what I'm saying is sometimes you may go to a place and this person don't may be there and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about this person because they was irrelevant at the time, and now I'm just going to bring them back up. So I'm going to let you know, hey, this person right here is my friend. Oh, by the way, we had a relationship. Now, what you say is,
I get what you're saying. People rekindle friendships. You might not have been friends for 5-10 years because you lost contact, and now
exactly.
It's like,
well, that's a different.
Exactly, and that's
a different thing.
And that's what I wanted to bring in. I wanted to bring that.
That's what Sean's trying to say. I get where he's coming from.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that perspective in because sometimes some of these people you're not in friendship with until you meet them later on down the line, and you're like, oh, okay, there it is. But that was my own perspective. I just wanted to bring that piece into it. Hunter, you were about to say something. I'm sorry. I think we cut you off.
No, I was more reacting to perspicuousness.
Don't be sorry. Just cut him off.
Say that again, Hunter.
I'll say it first.
Logical, scientific on us real quick.
Sean, to comment on what you just said, that's a whole different parameter. That's something you rekindle a friend that you knew 15, 20 years ago and you haven't talked. I was more talking about you just dated this person 10 years ago. Y'all haven't broke contact and you're friends. You talk all the time, whether it's once a week, every other week. It's kind of hard not to bring that person up out of the blue.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who like, oh, well, honey, that's my really good friend. And to her point, we've been married 7 years. If this is a really, really good friend, how come I've never heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And most likely that person that you never heard of, probably there's something still going on there, which reason why they didn't bring it back up.
Wait a minute.
Gosh. Like you said, it could be a rekindle friendship. That's what you be back and forth.
No, I am responding to what John said.
Yeah,
but
if you
I'm just responding.
If you rekindle a friend, because that happened when I was married. I had some rekindle friendship. It's like, hey, babe, Teresa just hit me up on Facebook, and we have a whole conversation about Teresa before I even see Teresa. It's not like Teresa comes into town and then all of a sudden, hey, babe, I'm going to lunch with Teresa. Who the hell is Teresa? She's already been briefed on who Teresa is.
Right.
But what if you see somebody at the store and you have some time and you go sit and you're gonna call your wife?
No, that's different. I'm talking about prearranged going out, like we were talking about. Can they go hang out with them? Go hang out with them is different than I bumped into you. He said
you don't know that because you didn't know that was going to happen either.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about that.
You find with them hanging out one-on-one.
Yes.
Does it depend on the circumstance? Like you said, you could bump into someone and decide to go hang out and not be prearranged. So, I mean, some people depends on the situation. Some people don't care.
Different.
Well, but you know what? Let me just throw this in. I think that that respect thing goes both ways. Okay, that there's respect, as Keone just mentioned, that you hear from so and so, you bring it up. You hang out, everything is good, and at the same token, it goes both ways, that I want you to respect and trust me enough that if I go do this, that there's enough trust in the relationship that also I'm not going to misbehave. I mean, I'm going to keep the boundaries where they need to be, regardless of what the relationship was in the past.
Absolutely. And that's what you're talking about, those antennas going up, because either you're doing something you don't have no business doing, or something else is going on in your brain.
Every time you say them antennas, Larry smiles.
Well, see, I keep thinking back at this old TV program when I was a kid. Where the antennas went up,
Oh, the bunny ears.
Mork and Mindy or whatever it was.
I remember Mork and Mindy, yes.
Yeah, one of their programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just made me
The
smile.
old second-rate Marvel characters.
You know what?
The original Marvel character. Yeah.
The thing that Tequila and Lynn were just talking about, I mean, of course, I grew up we had an apartment on South Beach, and you walk around South Beach, just like any other beachy area downtown, you have all the little restaurants, you can sit outside and all that. I was walking down and I ran into a high school friend of mine, and we were in front of this coffee shop. I didn't love coffee, but she said, "Hey, I'm about to get some coffee. Let's chat." And we sat down outside and we started chatting. And 15 minutes later, my wife came walking down the street, and she's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey," and she came and sat down, and all three of us are just talking. And then after me and my wife got up and go home, it wasn't who was that? Who was that?
It shouldn't be.
Right. Because I told her I was going out for a walk. She trusts that I didn't tell her I'm going off for a walk meant I secretly meant to go have coffee with somebody. Because hell, if I want to sneak off, I'm gonna do a lot more than drink coffee.
You know what I'm saying now.
I'm not gonna waste my lie on drinking some coffee.
If you got a lie, make it a good one, huh?
Yeah, right. If I'm gonna get in trouble, Look, if I'm gonna get in trouble, I need to be knee deep in something.
Yes, if you're gonna get in trouble, you might as well get in trouble, right?
Right.
And you've been married, what, 7 years?
Huh?
You've been married 7 years?
We were married 7 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Oh,
It's 7 years.
I was just thinking of the attitude about getting knee deep into something. That's all.
Woo! Okay, Larry.
I am black, but anyway.
No, I hadn't noticed.
You know you can get knee deep if you can.
I was just trying to prove a point. Because I know what Tequila says if you just bump into somebody, But who wants that? I don't understand, Shauna. You can answer this. I'm not saying it's your situation. I don't understand the people who like being married or dating this person that always has their antennas up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's it's kind of weird because sometimes people go in relationships and for years and this situation never pops up until it pops up, and then now you be like, well, who the heck who have you been for the last 7 years when I bring this up? Because sometimes people just don't bring those situations up in the beginning of the marriage or in a relationship, and when it happens, it's like, oh snap, what am I supposed to do now? I just got caught drinking coffee with this woman that I have not told my wife about because I haven't seen this woman in 20 or 30 years.
That happens if you look like you're doing something. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, but how can you look like you're doing something if you're sitting there drinking coffee?
It's easy. When she said, "Hey," I said, "Hey." I didn't have a "oh shit" look on my face.
Right.
You know why? Because you're very good. Hey, Lynn, he's very good. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, if she walked up and you had gotten up and said, "It's not what you think," it's probably what you think.
Well, but you know what? I didn't have to do that because I knew who I was married to. That's the bigger point.
Right.
And she was the best option I had. Chris Rock always says a person's only as faithful as their options.
Some people ain't never happy, even if they got a good option. So I don't know how far that goes.
Besides, an old, very casual relationship, and you just don't think about it.
Yeah, you're right, Larry, because some people don't think about I have to go through like when you go to date somebody and they need to know every single person you've been with. It's like, okay, why is that the topic of our conversation every time we go on a date? Can we talk about something else?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but my conversation would be pretty boring with people because I don't have all of these counts that I need to be doing, Sean. How many people you were just counting away up there?
Whoa! Listen,
I was not counting. That was Tila talking about notches in the belt.
It's your
turn. Just get turned around on me.
Clean it out like that.
It's your turn, Sean. Now Lynn about to start paying out $100.
I'm not betting anybody.
Larry,
I want my money.
But I know for a fact, for example, it would not occur to me that I would need to tell the next man that I'm in relationship with or dating. We haven't even gone to define what the relationships are yet, where we're questioning this. But I wouldn't think that I'd have to tell somebody about my first love from 40 years ago.
Well, you know what? But that I believe that comes with experience. Lynn now versus Lynn when you was younger, dealing with knuckleheads. You may have to at that time, but now that you're older, you're wiser, and you ain't gonna take no crap. Shouldn't have to take anything. You don't have to tell anybody that.
Sean, he's sticking his foot in
You're in a deep hole there, Sean.
Sean,
I said older and wiser. Yeah.
Just dig that hole, Sean. Just dig it. Well, maybe Lynn was always like that. And you know what? This may be wrong, but because I don't have stats, but I generally think men care less about that than women. I don't know. I just feel like
I don't know. I think men are more petty. I believe men are petty now.
Really? Well, petty is one thing. That's not what I'm talking about. Anybody can be petty.
What I'm saying is I'm just talking about petty as being, they want to know everything because men do not like competition. I'm not talking about men in general, everybody, but a lot of men that I talk to don't like that type of competition where they have to sit there and hear their significant other talk about this past relationship that that happened.
If you think that that's a competition, then you have your own insecurities to deal with.
And that's why
you bring it up. If you didn't want to hear about it, you brought it up.
No, I think Sean's proving my point. I'm saying men don't care about it as much. That's why we don't ask, because they don't want to hear about it.
Exactly.
Well, I think men just don't want to talk about things that much. That's all.
Yeah, because men are. It's that arrogance of, look, I'm the one that's knocking it down right now. Anybody else that was doing it before is irrelevant. We will be upset if we walk in there. Anytime we walk in the kitchen and you just smiling and glowing, we're like, she better not be thinking about somebody. Like, look, let her get a text from Terrell and smile a certain way.
They had to be Terrell, right? Jamal.
Let her get a text from Jamal. Or be like, okay, Jamal, like, why are you cheesing? Who is Jamal and why are you cheesing?
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. I've known people and I've been in relationships myself when those insecurities come in and they want to know about this person. And I've gotten the question, well, who's better than who? Who do you think is better?
Oh, wow.
Why are you asking these questions and you don't want to really know the answer? Because do you want me to lie? Do you want me to tell you the truth? And then are you going to hold it against me later? It's like, why are you asking me? It's crazy. Because you do find men out there that do want to know for whatever reason they want to. And I'm like, why? It shouldn't matter right now.
You got that.
Wow. I'm glad I've not had to deal with those kind of knuckleheads.
Yeah. I mean, if they really took the time to think about that question, it's really irrelevant because clearly they weren't good enough if you're not together anymore.
Now, hold up, Hunter. There are situations.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute now.
That's why you don't ask those questions.
Oh, God.
The whole thing
man.
might be good in other areas.
I think then the subject depends on what we're talking about now.
That's why the name is
we can
still
stick,
in the phone,
we can stick
Hunter.
with the euphemisms, keep it a little
That's why the
ambiguous.
name is still in the phone. Look, how she has his name in the phone matters too. But
what's that? How did the number in the phone? How the number in the phone? Go on to school to people out there. How the number in the phone?
Mr. Almighty.
Sean be taking notes. He like, how you do that every once in a while.
Well, as long as the name isn't tattooed on your body someplace, and I think it's all good.
That's a good question.
Ooh.
Are you comfortable with dating or marrying somebody that has their ex tattooed
Absolutely.
physically. To any time that you're intimate, you're looking at their name.
Absolutely not.
Even worse, a face. The face tattooed.
Ooh,
That has got.
that's bad.
That's the tattoo that's got to come off.
I see Larry with a scouring pad and some.
That's right.
You paying for that removal or that cover up?
He's
Yeah, a little bit of
already
shaving
made
cream and a wire
the
brush.
appointment, Tila. He's
Wait,
already
wait,
made the appointment.
Wait, no. Larry, how you gonna get that tattoo off?
Said a little bit of shaving cream and a wire brush.
Oh, Lord,
You
have
don't
mercy.
braise her. You don't braise her.
You know, you learn that in the military. Shaving cream and
Hey,
wire
don't put
brush.
that on me.
Shaving cream and
Branded
a
her
wire brush.
Yes.
Don't they call that abuse?
No, they call that cleaning the grill.
There you go. There you go.
Cleaning the grill. Wow.
Cleaning the grill.
That's
Okay, I'm going home now, y'all.
Well, I can tell you that.
So I know
that
if
was-
anybody say, okay, let's go. We're gonna go clean the grill. I need not need to look side eye. I don't know what we doing.
Well, is the bottom line?
my
If
God.
I used to say this all the time, I kind of say it now. Don't ask me questions you don't want the answer to.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
Exactly. And especially
Because-
if you don't know what answer you're going to get, even if you may want the answer, you may not like what I'm about to say.
Yeah. Anytime I used to date somebody, it's in the beginning, I'd always ask them this. Look, we're going to establish this right now. When you ask me a question, do you want me to tell you the truth, or you want me to tell you what you want to hear? Let me know right now. I can do either or.
Right.
Always go for the truth. Even if it hurts, you should always go for the truth, because if you want to know, you better take it.
Am I the most beautiful person you ever dated? No, you're not.
Nope.
You're the third. Why would you say that? I told you in the beginning. Do you want the honest answer? You want to what you want?
There's a lot of beautiful
Yeah,
people.
I-
Yes, it goes.
I don't know why people even go there and ask those particular type of questions. There's just some things that's just taboo. Just leave it alone.
What did that comedian say when he said his wife said, "Do I look fat in this dress?" He said, "Honey, you look fat in everything."
So do you feel like your significant other or spouse has to be friends with your friend? Do you feel like they have to be
No.
friends? Because some people feel like, well, if they're not my friend, you don't need to be hanging out with them. They have to be our friend.
Look,
Well-
because I don't expect them to be friends with my normal friends that aren't from the opposite sex or aren't somebody that I dated in the past. I don't expect them to have to be friends with them.
They don't have to necessarily
Why would I
date.
expect that for those people?
Not have to necessarily be the ones you dated. It could be any
Hey,
friend. Some people feel
Tina,
like,
can you
oh,
repeat
they're
that?
not my friend, they're not
Yeah,
our
because
friend.
you said two different things. Can you repeat that? Because it was two different things in there. Tequila.
Hunter.
No,
I said
tequila.
Hunter said somebody you was significant with. I said it doesn't necessarily have to be friends you are have dated in the past. It could just be a friend. Some people feel like if we are not friends, they can't be your friends. So why do my friends have to be your friends?
No, I mean the question. There was two different things in that question.
The question was some people feel like they have to be friends with your friends. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like your friends have to be their friends or your significant other friends have to be your friends?
Oh, I don't feel they have to be friends because
No.
everybody's not going to like anybody. I might have a friend that I love to death, and my wife might not be able to stand him. So I don't. Yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
to be
Friends.
Yeah, that's true. I know when my wife. Go ahead, Larry. I'm sorry. Oh, I was going to say that there have been plenty of times my wife told me, "Well, I don't like her, so you don't like her either." Okay.
So you do have a
I got-
situation where they got to be friends in order for them to
Yeah.
be your friend. You both have to be friends.
Well, it's like this. Like with my wife's, like sometimes you are friends with your wife's friends, or they're friends with your wife is friends with your friends by default
Association.
because
Yeah.
by association. Now, if my wife came up to me and said, "Hey, Lisa, I don't like Lisa, and Lisa's doing this and this and this. I don't like that. So we're going to cut ties with Lisa." And I'm like, "Okay, we're going to cut ties with Lisa."
Wait, does the
But I'm talking about Lisa as being her friend, not Lisa as being my friend.
Oh, okay, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, you just cleaned it up, so that makes sense. The length of the friendship matters to me. you're not going to tell me I'm not going to be friends with somebody that I've known a decade and a
Right.
half longer than I've known you, because
Exactly.
that same friend has been through 4 people telling me the same thing,
Right.
Right.
and they're all gone, and that friend is still here.
It's still there. Right. Right.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Exactly.
I totally
Now,
agree.
see,
Sooner or later, you're gonna listen to them.
you know, I would have to say that, you know, in my case, all of my friends are good people. Some of my wife's friends I just don't care about. But you know, you be nice, you be reasonable, and I mean that's just the way it is.
Larry, I tell you, I love how you teeter totter between sweet grandpa and crotchety old man. I love how you, like, you teeter totter. Like, 1 minute he's as sweet as a barrel of sugar, and then the next moment he's so salty.
So Larry, do you like any of her friends, or you don't like
Well,
none?
sure. It depends on whether it's chemically induced or not. But you know, I do.
Okay.
No,
Okay then. Tell me
like,
more, Larry.
no, I like I'll say most of her friends. I do.
Uh,
There's a few that just thoroughly piss me off. But you know, you sit there and can I say that?
yes, you can say you already said it, so we're good.
But you know, even though they do, you know, I try to mind my own business and not try to cause issues. You know, because they are her friends, and I expect her to be the same with my friends. Although all of my friends are good ones.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
These are your friends. They're always
Right.
friends.
They're your friends.
You know, if they weren't, then I wouldn't be friends with them. You know, but hey, you know,
Does your wife feel like they're good friends or good people?
Well, I mean, we all have, like, I have a couple friends there. I mean, good people means they're not out there selling drugs and murdering people, but, you know, a couple of them are a little, you know, I don't bring them around certain friends because I'm like, but they're my friend. You know what friends to bring around and which friends to say, all right, you stay over here. You're just my drinking buddy, or you're just my go out buddy, or you're my movie buddy. Like, sometimes you have these categorized friends that only operate in that friendship space for a certain aspect of your life, but they're not the friend that I invite to dinner when me and the wife and the friends are going out. Well, the ex-wife, we're going out. They don't tag along. They're not in that. And that's the Lisa. Did you say you were giving that name, Sean? That's that type. Like, Sean's still saying he's still friends with that girl, but she ain't getting invited to the hangout when the wife is there.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you kind of know which friends to mix and mingle with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which ones come. But I would say too, in the 30-something years I was with my husband, there was one friend. I was only wrong about one friend when I would say, that's not the one. And this particular guy turned out to be a good friend. But for the most part, I had the kind of sense that, you know, that spidey sense or whatever, that, you know, there was one particular person that I could say, nah, I don't want him coming by the house again. You know,
well, you know, there's a big difference between a friend and an old acquaintance too.
Yeah.
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 Not a whole lot of agreement there, I guess.
You have associates.
No. You're right, Larry, because this is a whole different episode. But I always tell people, define that word, because people always want a title, but they don't do what that title entails. So it's normal when you introduce, like, if I just met Hunter yesterday and he's going to hang out with me and Sean, you always go, hey, Sean, this is my friend Hunter. But you don't mean this is my friend Hunter, because you're not like friends, but that's just the normal way you introduce people. So it could be that thing.
It's the common turn of phrase. And it can get
you don't say, hey, Sean, here's this dude I just met yesterday, and now we're hanging out. That's not how
here's this guy I picked up off the street.
I would. I
believe you. I believe you.
Ears would tell you
Yeah,
that.
I believe you.
Use that word.
I believe you, Tequila.
But now, you know what? But this goes back to the beginning of this conversation, because I still am trying to figure out, you know, do the parameters change based on how we define the partner? Like we use that word partner, but we've used significant other, we've used spouse. You know, at what point does all of this really matter? You know, when does it come in?
Matter at all, really?
Is it different? You know, is it different if this is somebody you just started dating? You go to your house, I go to my house. See you later.
I
Next
believe
day.
you are absolutely right. It is different in my opinion, because if you're just dating and you're my friend, then are you privy to know who my friends are right now? And should I tell you who I'm dating, who I dated in the past, compared to somebody that I am engaged to, compared to somebody that I'm in a relationship with for a long period of time, and definitely compared to somebody that I'm married to. So I totally agree with you, Lynn, that there are different parameters when it comes to divulging that type of information. And are you, if me and such been dating for like 6 months, do I feel comfortable enough just to tell her, say, hey, there's my friend right here. We were in a relationship like 3 or 4 years ago, but we're still cool.
Matter. It should matter.
I think it does. I think that
well, you're both right. It matters, but that was my first problem in the beginning. The people that it matters to, I want no part of. When I was stationed in San Antonio, I had a female coworker, and her name was Priscilla, and then it was me and Mark, and we used to go eat lunch every day. And her husband would call her, and she would go, "Shh, hey, honey," and I was like, and when she hung up, I said, "Why do you do that?" Just why I said, why don't you just tell him in a conversation, hey, I go to lunch with Mark and John. We go to lunch every day, talk about us, introduce us, because then he'll get used to it. And he won't do the thing where I accidentally sneeze. And then he goes, who's that? And you go, oh, John and Mark. Well, who the hell is John and Mark? So she said, that's not how it works. I wasn't married at the time. I'm like, okay, I don't know anything. Well, fast forward 2 weeks later, she answered the phone in the car. She's like, hi, honey. Oh, I'm just going to eat with Mark and John. Oh, okay. Tell them I said, hey, babe says hi. Like, when you try to keep everything a secret, that's when people start getting insecure and think you're up to something.
Right. That goes back to what I said earlier. Depends on how you respond to the situation. You make it what it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. Do you not trust me, or are you just insecure? Like that battle is tiring, and I just don't want no part of it.
And I agree, and I agree with Tila, and I agree with you too, John. I think what it is that when do you establish that trust where you can tell whoever you're with that this is my friend and we hang out and stuff like that, and how long can that? I'm sorry, I'm trying to put it in words. When can you establish that trust so it won't be an issue? I believe that, and I think Larry said this. I think Larry said, if you do not establish those boundaries, the trust prior to that relationship, then it's never going to work.
Yeah, before you put the ring on. And when I want to let everybody know, when we say boundaries, ladies and men, boundaries can't be one way.
You're right about that.
A lot of relationships where the boundaries are one side. What you're doing when you do that in the beginning, what you're doing is you're putting a shelf life on your relationship already from the beginning. This is not going to be forever. When everything's one-sided, there is a term limit on that relationship. You may not know what it is, but there's a shelf life, and you just started the clock when you do that.
Right.
Because eventually it gets old.
Yes.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
That's the point where the resentment starts.
Yep. That's when the new faces come in and start to feel fresh because they're treating you like you want to be treated and talk to you how you want to be talked to. And then somebody who was totally faithful starts to get those little inklings.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's more like the insecurity because they're looking for the red flags. Certain red flags trigger them. So it's more of an insecurity. Once that trigger is set, it's like, maybe not. Because sometimes your insecurities, you still have trust, but the insecurity makes you kind of like step back and think about it because they see something they've seen before. So that brings about the insecurity.
And
Well,
you had mentioned something that's very pivotal in this conversation. You said they're looking for the red flags. They're not letting the red flags just pop into their brain. You know, something is not right there, and you're like, oh, that don't sound right. But they're looking for something that may not be there and totally sabotaging the relationship because you're going out with somebody that was an old flame or a female friend or a male friend.
Ooh, I have a hot question for y'all because I want y'all to talk about it because I talked a lot. What about those situations where I've had female friends that do it, and I'm not acting like only females do it, but I haven't had any male friends that I've known that do it. The purposeful setup, having a friend that they know I don't know hit me up on social media to see if I'll talk to them.
Oh wow!
And then when you don't send the baddest friend you got to play that game with your significant other, because when you lose, you're gonna feel bad. Has anybody witnessed that or seen that kind of thing? Because
I've heard of that happening to a few of my friends.
Social media,
and it didn't end well.
I've only been on social media since
that relationship was over that day.
It's happened. That thing been even prior to social media. They would do that. You know.
I do remember. Right. I do remember back in the day that I had an old acquaintance, female friend of mine, that had one of her friends give me a call and was on a three-way. They was on a three-way and she was asking me these questions and stuff. I never talked to this lady like in ever, and all of a sudden she's calling me out the blue, and I was like, something don't sound right. So I said, hold on, let me. I'm going to use the bathroom. I put the phone on mute, and then I can hear my girlfriend say, "Here, ask him this, ask him this, ask him this," and then I get back on the phone. And I get back on the phone, and I'm like, but I'm dating myself, three-way calling and stuff. Social media is a little bit different. But I'm get back on the phone, and I'm starting to play the game too. And I'm like, tell me about your friend. What do you think about my girlfriend? I remember the last time we talked, you told me that you didn't like her. You know what I'm saying? So I started, switching the roles up, but I've never had it happen.
You threw it back. You threw it back.
I threw it back hard. I threw that thing back on him. I backed it up on him.
Oh, what is this show turning into?
That's not what she's talking about, Kimmy.
Hey, look, I used to do the I remember my friend Jennifer used to do this. She said you should just do. When I couldn't get a hold of somebody I liked when I was a teen, I used to do the Hunter. You're not going to know what this is because you're not old enough yet. I used to do the emergency breakthrough.
Right.
There was no call waiting back then, Hunter. So if I wanted to talk to somebody and they weren't answering the phone because they're on the phone, you call the operator and said, I have an emergency and I need to get through to this number. And then they would hear, you have an emergency.
Circa New Edition, 1980.
Well, I tell my baby's number. The New Edition on them.
But you know what? The biggest thing is what I go back to what Larry says. When we keep talking about when do you establish this trust, the insecurities. Again, all of this stuff is supposed to be sorted out before you start sliding rings on people's finger. And if you don't have all of your faculties together because of a previous relationship, get that worked out before you start putting that on somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I have a story that happened to me when I was in college. I used to date a dude that was very insecure. So when we had certain arguments and me and my homegirls would go to the club, he would always come with friends and then have them come over and hit on us. And I can see him in the corner. So my whole point is, if you expected me not to see you, like you sneaking and trying to do something, why are you making yourself present? So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do exactly what you came here to see and give you all the show you want. And then I want to hear this conversation with you.
Was that Martin Lawrence when he said that your boyfriend be coming to the club in pajamas looking for you?
Like, how you going to show up and you trying to set a trap? It didn't work out that way. Craziness.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Well, that obviously did not get to a serious relationship.
no, he was psycho. So we had some issues. No longer.
It's almost like that Kevin Hart special where he said, your lady hates when you're having fun. You could be out just hanging with the guys and you answer the phone and you're like, all right, stop. Hey, babe, what's up? Oh, do you? Click. Like, dang, you're be having fun. You just assume.
Hey, John, that's another segment. That's another show right there.
I don't know who John is, but I got you. Larry, you were trying to say something, though.
Oh, I was just nothing important. I was just going to say, my mind wanders. The antenna thing is, my favorite Martian. That's what it was.
Yeah, my favorite Martian. That's what you were thinking.
We're coming
about,
full
right?
circle on it. We figured it out. We got.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I drift every once in a while, and that was it.
Just in case they didn't get it out there, we wanted to make sure you knew what it was.
That's why I've been so quiet. The gears have just been turning and turning and
You've
turning
been
until you
looking
find.
for that Martian.
Well,
I'm
I can only do one thing at a time. It's just
I was like, hey, you okay over there?
Earlier, we were talking about boundaries, right? You was talking about boundaries. Do you feel like you have to set boundaries when it comes to your friendships with the opposite sex, when it comes to your spouse as well?
I don't believe you
need to set
You
boundaries.
was talking about it earlier, how that sets is like, here we go. Now we already know what's going to happen.
Right. I mean, I feel like if you're really just friends, I feel like that boundary has already kind of been set. You already know what that boundary is. You're just supposed to be friends.
Right.
There's some people that are going to be a set whether you have that's again, those are the type of people I don't date. Like the person that goes crazy because you like the picture on Instagram. Like we're 40 something years old. Like, get out of here with this.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I was watching this reality show called Put a Ring on It. And they always talking, I don't know if y'all watched that. And they always said, well, we're going to put boundaries on when you go out on this date. So you can figure out if you're going to be dating me or not. Or if you want to marry me or not. I agree with Hunter. If you have to put boundaries on a friendship or them going out, then there's something wrong there, because why you need to put a boundary when y'all are just friends and everybody should understand what their left and right limits are.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
well, if you need to put boundaries on something,
Hold on. Everybody started talking at the same time. That was funny. Oh, Larry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you need to start putting boundaries on your partner, your wife, whoever, then you're in the wrong relationship.
Yeah, it ain't my property.
You're not going to tell me I can't go play with the boys if I don't want to.
Let me say this. I have experienced this, and it wasn't about, I didn't put boundaries on my husband. My husband didn't put boundaries on me. We respected each other and stayed within bounds.
There you go.
And I say that in the sense that reality is everybody's even friend intention is not always the best intention. Okay. And somebody could be going through something and, have some issues and decide that, my husband was sympathetic to whatever they might have been going through. And the next thing I know, the woman was trying to make more demands and he was trying to help. And finally he was like, hold up. This is not my job. This is not my responsibility. So when I talk about antennas going up, it's not about looking for stuff, but it is being aware that some people's minds and hearts change depending upon what circumstances they're going through. And sometimes we're not always, on it.
Yeah, because the boundaries are not on you and your spouse or significant other. Right. The boundaries are on the friend over there who may not know how to stay within bounds.
Right.
You know what? And that brings me up to I watched a lot of Steve Harvey clips, and somebody had asked him, and I don't know if anybody heard this. Somebody asked him, said, "Can a woman and a man be friends?" And he said, "No." He said, "You can't be friends." He
Stop
said
listening.
because, and I'm just saying what he's telling.
I know.
That's not my opinion. But and he stated that the reason being is because sometimes those boundaries, depending on the situation, you may have an argument with your wife, spouse, significant other, and that person that's your friend all becomes a little bit more than your friend
Your
that
sounding
at
board.
that time. Excuse me. Yes, that's thank you. You more than a sounding board. So he was saying that because of that situation, because of the human behavior between a man and a woman, that it's virtually impossible for people to be a man and a woman to be friends without crossing that or thinking about crossing that line or crossing.
That's like people who talk about emotional cheating, physical
Oh
cheating.
God,
They talk about all the different ways you can cheat because you
making my head hurt
rely
on that
on
one.
that person. It's like, what are you talking about?
I call
Yeah.
them. I always love when people say something is not possible as millions of people are doing it. A man and woman can't be friends yet. I just had lunch with my friends Chris and Brad. They're together. They've been together for 5 years, and guess what? She can go have lunch with any male friend of hers, and he can. She has a lot of male friends. I'm one of her male friends, and so it's like, man, those people who give that kind of advice, it's like they're talking about their situation because everybody they dated has their antennas up, and because also a lot of them weren't doing the right thing when they had an argument with the wife because you stepped out on your wife and did something. I'm not saying Steve Harvey did, but because you stepped out on your wife and did something, now everybody is subject to that. Yes, people think about it all the time. Did I think about, oh my God, this person looks fine as hell when I was married? I would love to bleep bleep. Yeah, because those are thoughts. The difference is you don't do it. I've also thought of slapping the hell out of people. Do I go up there and do it? No. So a thought is a thought. The action is the problem. So you cannot crucify people because they might have a damn thought.
Right. Because the other thing is you can't always control your thoughts.
Right. Everything.
Kind of
and I'm yelling at the person that you said that gave the advice, not you, Sean.
Yeah, I got you.
I want you to make that. I just want to make that. I ain't yelling at you.
They always get it from their point of view and the things they've been through.
Because everything I like about you, there's billions of people on this planet. I'm the only one that's gonna like that.
Right.
Get out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Get out of here. I'm gonna put this up here again because Sean never notices it when it pops up.
Sean, you got a final thought on this?
You know what? I want somebody else to do this job. I ain't getting paid enough for it.
Damn, let me put my business out like that. Oh! You know what? You spent more money on this show today than you've.
Yeah, I did, and I got my sister.
Put your foot in your mouth.
Okay. Yes. So, what is your final thoughts on our subject tonight? And we're going to start with Larry since he's been the quietest one on here.
Well, I didn't mean to be, but
He's been talking.
No, my final thoughts are, I don't believe that you need to set boundaries for a relationship. I believe that if you have the right partner, whoever, at whatever level you're at, boundaries ought to come automatically. I think it's common sense. I don't care if my wife has male friends, as she does, as a matter of fact, that she's known for a long, long time, way before me. And, I have no fear of that, where that may lead. You've got to have trust. And I do trust her, and I believe she trusts me. I can be very, outgoing and flirty. I do. I mean, I enjoy that, but she knows that's what it is. And that just happens to be my personality.
Okay.
And once
Thank
again,
you.
it doesn't cause us any problems. Now, that may not work for everybody, but it works for us, and that's how I feel about things.
That's it.
Respect for that. Miss Lynn, your thoughts?
My final thoughts are this: that friendships are friendships. There's trust in relationships or there's not. And I think that the you do greater damage by demanding someone give up friendships, relationships they've had in the past. And when I say relationships, I'm not talking intimate, I'm just talking friendships and long-term friends and people that have been there, people that are a part of make me know who I am and know who you are as a partner. So, I got to have something else to do besides that one person that I'm close to. It's part of being well-rounded and maintaining that grounding you need. So I'm good. And they should
Thank
be
you.
too.
Very
Well
good.
said.
Amen. Amen. Tila?
Well, my final thought on that, and Miss Lynn brought it up really good, because my thing is sometimes when people are trying to push your friends away, it's because your friends sometimes see things that they may not want them to see because you are so clouded in that honeymoon phase. So you have to sometimes take heed to the reason why they want you to push your friends away, because there's no reason why you should let go of people who have been a part of your life for longer than the time you have been there. So people really have to think about the purpose of why they are trying to push your friends away. So yes, I feel like the opposite sex can be friends, whether you're in a relationship, outside of a relationship, it doesn't matter, because everybody needs a support village. And it should not mean that I can't have a relationship. But a lot of people do get cloudy judgments in that honeymoon phase and they don't necessarily push their friends away, but when you're dating people at the beginning, doesn't mean you don't have friends, right? It just means that you're not spending a lot of time with your friends because they're getting to know that one person. So then once we build on that, you're going to meet them, you're going to see them, and then they're going to start seeing things about you as well. So keep your friends. Don't give them up.
Thank you,
That's my
Tila. Thank you, Tila. Hunter?
I think it's kind of been tied up. It's all about trust. I mean, if your significant other has a friend of the opposite sex and you don't feel like you can trust them to hang out with that person, then there's deeper problems within the relationship already. So that's already not a healthy relationship. It's not going to last long. So if you need to find somebody that you can trust. That's
I agree.
what I have to say about that.
I agree. Keone?
I'm on that verge of talking about the boundaries and the friendships and the respect that a lot of people have mentioned. The boundaries are self-explanatory. The common decent things that you're supposed to do when you're dating someone that shouldn't be explained to adults. And we see a lot of adults these days that treat their relationships the same way they did in high school. And that's a problem. All trust and insecurities should be fleshed out and heard and learned before you get into a commitment. If things are coming out, then you have to decide, do I trust this person enough to keep this going before you get into the animosity, before it gets nasty, and all of those things. Again, you have to understand yourself. Is it that I don't trust this person, or am I insecure? And you've got to be honest with yourself. And one way to be honest with yourself is don't ask friends who just tell you what you want to hear. We have two types of friends. Well, most people do. I try to have one. And the one type of friend I try to have is be honest with me. Tell me
Right.
when I'm messing up. Tell me when I'm wrong. When I have someone call me, because I've had that before, a friend call me. I've lost friends like this. They call me and tell me about a relationship problem. I said, well, you were wrong. What do you mean I was wrong? You're my friend. And yeah, that's why I'm telling you, you were wrong. But a lot of people don't want to hear that. And, sucks for them. But that's the way you're going to find happiness in your relationship. You got to trust. You can't be insecure. If you don't trust the person and your insecurities are it's not going to work. but that's up for you.
Wow,
Right.
that's hard to follow up right there. Wow. My final thoughts on it is, trust is a foundation in which your relationship can survive the hardest times. And I believe that the hardest times are, and my lights went out. I'm sorry. I got to bring this closer. But I believe the hardest times is when when you are challenged and you do have a friend and your significant other, wife, spouse, or husband don't have to ask that question because you already established your trust prior to even going there with that person. I agree with everybody here that put their input on this thing about boundaries, relationships, and friendships. At the end of the day, your friend is your friend, and uh, I believe that Keone said it best, that you may have a friend that you've been friends with 10 to 15 years, and they've been your friends since the four relationships that you had. So don't throw away your friends because of insecure of your partner, friend, your partner, girlfriend, or whoever, any way that you want to call that person. Establish trust, and then everything else will be good to go. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want I want everybody to have a good evening. I'm about to close this shop unless somebody else has anything else to say.
Hey, I would like to say one thing if I could.
Yes, Larry. Hey, Keone, you're on mute. You've been
Yeah,
talking on mute.
yeah. Yeah. What the hell happened to your camera? You were bright the whole episode, then all of a sudden now you look like a hacker.
He lost the light. The lights went out. He said,
just
we have a
storms around here.
Okay, I was just making sure no one's breaking into the house. You're doing all this. It started to look weird. I thought I had to call emergency breakthrough or something.
Go ahead. Larry said he wanted to say something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, this was a little off topic, but all I wanted to say is this being Memorial Day weekend, just remember the troops that didn't make it back.
Yes.
Amen.
Have a safe, joyous weekend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and definitely comment on our topic today. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Everybody take care.
Peace.
Run to turn your light bulbs on.